Welcome to another episode of Don't Call It Small. I'm your host, Natasha Foreman. If you don't know me and you have no clue what this podcast is all about, let me share a bit. I'm a lead management consultant at ForemanLLC, LLC, where we provide consulting and professional development services. And Don't Call It Small is where we talk all things business, share tips and news that you can use, and highlight the people and ideas behind the products and services that we buy. To learn more about our team, please visit ForemanLLC.com. That's ForemanLLC.com. Well, howdy there. Yeah, I did just say howdy, didn't I? Hey everyone, it's Natasha Foreman. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Call It Small Business Podcast. It's a blessing to be here with you today. So I'm going to make the most of our time together. As always, let's start off with a quote. The real test is not whether you avoid this failure, because you won't. It's whether you let it harden or shame you into inaction, or whether you learn from it, whether you choose to persevere. Do you know who said that? Do you know who spoke those words? That's the former President Barack Obama. So I am really excited about today's episode. We're going to share some business news, events, and of course, we're going to do some shout outs. Yes. And of course, we're going to shout out some great companies and professionals that I strongly recommend that you support. But have you been keeping up with the latest business news? I mean, there's so much going on around the world that we don't have enough time to cover everything. But let's see what we can squeeze in. And I wouldn't be me if I didn't mention food. So let's talk about food. Let's talk about the latest business news dealing with food. Let's start with Kellogg. They announced that they will split into 3 publicly traded companies, focus on snacks, cereal, and plant-based foods. So they're basically acknowledging that their snack business that brings you your beloved Pringles and Cheez-Its and Pop-Tarts happens to be their breadwinner, and they need more direct resources and focus in that area to ensure that they keep bringing in the dough with the snacks. So when they're looking at their $14.2 billion in net sales during 2021, 80% of that, or $11.4 billion, if you want to do the calculations, came from their snack division. $2.4 billion came from cereal sales, and their plant-based sales generated $340 million. Yeah. Now you see why they are strategically realigning and focusing more attention towards the snacks. Do you remember when Kraft divided and they created Mondelez International in 2012? You probably don't, or maybe you do. Well, Mondelez, who brings you my favorite Oreo cookies and Ritz crackers, they've agreed to acquire Cliff Bar for $2.9 billion. But wait a minute. Didn't Mondelez make an announcement a few months ago that it would buy Grupo Bimbo, the confectionery business, for $1.3 billion? Why, yes, they did. Since 2018, Mondelez has acquired 8 other companies, with Cliff Bar being the 9th. Did you know that the global snack market is projected to reach $732.6 billion by 2026? Is that not crazy? Even with prices on our beloved chips and cookies and all the other snacks going up and up and up and up and up, obviously we will not be deterred. Clearly, sales keep staying strong. Yeah, and I won't lie, I was chowing down on some caramel cheddar popcorn and some Doritos earlier. They're definitely getting my money. So pivoting to a new topic, let's talk the job market. LinkedIn, I don't know if you guys noticed or heard about it, but LinkedIn's most recent data shows that Gen Z is a major driver of the great reshuffle, where folks are hopping from job to job without the same careful consideration and loyalty that we find in older generations like my mom's generation, the baby boomers, and to some extent, my generation, Gen X. The pandemic has caused people to reconsider their why. Or, as LinkedIn CEO Ryan Roslansky said, quote, people are switching jobs at a higher rate than ever before as they figure out not only how and where they work, but why they work. This generation believes it's not only okay to move around frequently, but it's expected and potentially have a side gig or two along the way. And he's talking about Gen Z. And while Roslansky's findings specifically refer to the advertising industry, it does serve as a warning to every sector that retaining Gen Z talent is not as straightforward as it once was with previous generations. You can't pull the wool over their eyes. The fear tactics that have been used over the decades and generations, they're not hearing it. So we're looking at companies in manufacturing and home building, tourism, and countless other industries are bemoaning the, talent crisis and the great resignation and a national labor shortage. And what we're finding is that since May 2021, employers in the United States have consistently reported more job openings than the total number of unemployed Americans. And the gap has widened almost every month. The latest data shows an unprecedented imbalance. So even if every unemployed person in the country got a job today, employers will still have 5.4 million unfilled jobs. Unfilled roles, 5.4 million. So what does that mean for employers? You have something to write with? Here we go. It's 5 words. You better get it together. And speaking of getting it together, let's talk diversity, equity, and inclusion. Have you guys heard that Wells Fargo is back on the hot seat? They made a huge DEI blunder, and they're under federal investigation by the Civil Rights Unit of the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office for conducting fake job interviews of minority candidates to satisfy in-house diversity guidelines. I shared my thoughts on my personal blog, natashaforman.com/blog, if you want to read my 2 cents. I will say that Wells Fargo should know better, but I'm not surprised if they don't. They, like other firms, simply don't know what they don't know. And I am a client of Wells Fargo, and I do have confidence in their leadership teams to be able to assess and to right this wrong, to get it together. I do. I think that they'll get it together, but it's interesting. So the New York Times reported last month that current and former bank employees said the supervisors in the wealth management division had instructed them to interview Black and female candidates for positions that had already been promised to someone else. Their chief executive officer, Charlie Scharf, said earlier last week that the firm had temporarily halted the use of diversity guidelines for hiring. The pause of several weeks will give the firm time to review the matter, that he wrote in a memo. We will continue to actively seek diversity in hiring even during this pause. The pause is a chance for us to review our guidelines and processes and to make improvements. It does not mean that anyone at Wells Fargo should stop hiring or stop actively recruiting diverse candidates, end quote. And here's the thing, Wells Fargo isn't alone with blundering a great opportunity to truly embrace and create an organizational culture rooted in diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. If you really think that this firm is the only one checking boxes and not following through, then think again. just the fashion industry. They're being asked to take a closer look at their efforts, as there was a rush to appoint DEI executives to newly created roles months after the 2020 murder of George Floyd. And guess what we're seeing in their industry? High turnover, extremely high turnover. It's, you got to read my blog post where I covered that in greater detail. But Nike lost its second DEI head in 3 years. Gucci's first global head of DEI resigned in 2020 after 1 year. That's just a few examples. The average tenure for a chief diversity officer, and it could be by any title, there's different titles for that role, is about 3 years. While a chief executive officer, CEO, their tenure averages approximately 6 years. And people say, why? Well, it's because most of the positions are created in haste, right? When they're creating these positions to, diversity, equity, inclusion officer, they're just throwing gum on the wall in hopes it sticks. Not all of them, but we see it a lot. It's just done in haste. There's a lack of resources. There's a lack of defined goals and support from the chief executive. When you're creating roles like this, just like any other major change that you're trying to implement and embed within your organization, if you do not have your chief executive officer and your operating officer and the other senior leaders fully engaged and supportive and running this race with you, it is going to belly flop and hard. Executives who should be working closely with the CEO, COO, the chief human resource officers, oftentimes being relegated to the HR department. And that is what we're seeing with a lot of these DEI positions. And I've been looking and examining what they've been doing over the past 2 and 3 years. And this is what you're seeing. You're seeing them segued into, put in this box in HR. And let's be real, a lot of companies don't highly value their HR departments. They're just seen as, the onboarding, offboarding, paper pushing. Here's these forms that need to be filled out because so-and-so has been promoted or transferred or hired or fired or demoted or being, punished in some way. And when you're being relegated to that department with few resources, and then many of your organization's leaders aren't educated on the importance of this new role and the person that is serving in that role, what happens? People don't value, respect, or listen to that person. And they are soon seen as the problem rather than the fact that the company has failed to prioritize diversity, equity, inclusion on every level and in every aspect of their business. In episode 54 of our podcast, we discuss whether organizations are truly invested in a DEI mission or are they just riding the bandwagon. Don't just hire people to be figureheads. It's a waste of time, money, and energy, and a major reason for high turnover and for poor results. I can go on and on, but I won't. I'll just point out that, as another example, outside of fashion, Tesla is facing a series of lawsuits involving alleged widespread race discrimination and sexual harassment at its Fremont, California factory, including one by a California civil rights agency. And that starts and ends at the top of Tesla. The culture bred the energy that discriminated and harassed workers, right? Because if you're not coming through and whipping things into where it should be, then that basically means you're enabling it. You're okay with it. You can't say that you don't know it's happening. So last week, a Tesla shareholder filed a lawsuit accusing the CEO, Elon Musk, and board of directors of neglecting worker complaints and fostering a toxic workplace culture. We can wrap up this part of our business news with a statement I made in my blog post. And as I said, you can go to natashaforeman.com/blog to read it. But it says, if your organization hasn't been actively engaged in DEI practices for the 5, 20, 50, 100 plus years it's been operating, it won't jump to it overnight. PR stunts have become the norm to position companies to be more desirable in less time, especially when publicly traded. That equals a recipe for disaster, as does rushing to do something out of guilt and shame when you realize that you haven't done enough. So, there's some blundering DEI news. Let's pivot to some awesome diversity and inclusion news. Google is focused on helping formerly incarcerated individuals through a partnership with Code for America to remove barriers traditionally faced when seeking employment. I'm so excited. Really excited about this. Google's recently announced an investment of $8 million to the Career Readiness for Reentry program, where $4 million will be used to help the Grow with Google Career Skills for the Justice Impacted Fund. And the overall goal is to equip 100,000 previously incarcerated people with the digital and career skills needed to succeed. And, you know, we talked about this on a previous episode as far as when we're acquiring these skills, and, you know, we talked about it with the technical and trade schools and people going to 4-year colleges or universities, and this trade-off, and you see Google coming in with, you know, these added features of cutting to the chase and bringing people into the workforce with the skills needed. So that's really cool. Additionally, what I really got excited about was that nonprofits with no connection to Google's existing partners have an opportunity to apply for up to $100,000 in grants that will allow them to offer Google's reentry skills training to their respective communities. Is that not amazing? I am like, yes. According to the statistics shared by Google, unemployment rates for formerly incarcerated Black men is at 34%, and it's 40% for Black women, both of which are significantly higher than any other racial group. The rates are also, and actually I would call it ethnic group, but I'm quoting what is said in the thing. Anyway, because I'm like, I am part of the human race. But anyway, the rates are also 4 to 5 times more than the unemployment rates across the nation. And so Google wants to, of course, help close this gap. And to do so, they're joining forces with 5 nonprofit partners. And those partners are Center for Employment Opportunities, Defy Ventures, Fortune Society, the Ladies of Hope Ministries, and the Last Mile. So if you happen to have a nonprofit and you don't have a connection with those 5 existing partners, you have an opportunity to apply for up to $100,000 in grants to be able to offer Google's reentry skills training to, you know, your community to help, you know, close this gap. And I think it's amazing. So, alrighty. Are you ready to mark your calendars? Pull out your calendars, your digital calendars, the paper ones, whatever, the Post-it note, something. There's some upcoming business events. I'm going to share some, you know, globally. It's not all of them, right? It's not extensive. It'd take forever. These are just a few. If you have any that you want to share, make sure that you reach out to us and let us know. But July 8th to the 10th in Zurich, Switzerland, they're hosting a hybrid event. It's the 5th International Conference on Business, where there will be presentations, networking, immersive learning opportunities, plus a free tour of the beautiful city of Zurich. So that's something cool. July 14th is the Business Beyond Barriers, aka the B3 Conference and Expo, featuring the Supplier of the Year Awards. The conference is being held at the SoFi Stadium, and it is hosted by the Southern California Minority Supplier Development Council. So that is July 14th. July 18th to the 21st is the RUN 2022, and that's the Disability In Conference at the Sheraton Dallas Hotel in Dallas, Texas. And just to give you some background, Disability In is the leading nonprofit resources for business disability inclusion worldwide, and they have a network of over 400 corporations expanding opportunities for people with disabilities across enterprises. So that's July 18th to the 21st. August 2nd to the 5th, the NGLCC International Business and Leadership Conference will be held at the Bellagio Hotel and Casino in Vegas. That's Las Vegas, by the way, in Nevada. It's the largest LGBTQ business event in the world. So that is August 2nd to the 5th. September 7th and 8th is the Small Business Expo at the California Market Center in downtown LA, Los Angeles. Excuse me. November 9th and 10th is WBE Canada's 2022 National Conference and Excellence Awards. And just some background information on WBE Canada. They're a nonprofit led by corporate members, and that they're opening doors for Canadian women-owned businesses to supply chains across North America. Their annual conference creates networking, training, promotional opportunities for Canadian women-owned businesses, buyers, and leaders from large corporate and government organizations. So save the date for that, November 9th and 10th. That is definitely something that you all should strongly consider. Now, what is this? What's that? Do you hear that? What is that? Oh my goodness. So this music, do you know what this music means? It's our new business shout out music. Yes, indeed. We've been talking about it week after week after week. And we're like, what kind of music pop up? Can we be able to shout out these businesses and the professionals? And this right here, get you pumped? Yes. Imagine these folks like going across the stage. So, I know I'm so silly. I'm going to shout out 3 businesses, and I truly do hope that you will support them. First up is Urban Necessities. We're calling all sneakerheads. Get your tails over to the Caesars Forum shops at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada. And then mosey over to Urban Necessities, where they have thousands of shoes, an ice cream shop where you can get ice cream and shakes and more. They even have a tattoo parlor, folks, and a barber, and vintage pinball machines. They have it all. You truly have to see it to believe it. Visit them at 3500 Las Vegas Boulevard in Las Vegas, Nevada. Their website is urbannecessities.com, and you can find them on Instagram at urban_necessities and on Twitter at the UN Shop LV. There we go, Urban Necessities in Vegas. Shout out number 2 is the Client Giant. The Client Giant is a super awesome company that offers automated gifting for client care and employee happiness. Never forget a birthday, anniversary, or other special occasion ever again. You can celebrate milestones with class, and you can stop giving employees and clients so-called gifts that you have your company logo on, because, news alert, those aren't gifts. Those are marketing products promoting your company, and you just push them off on your employees and clients. So you get to, I want to walk you through the steps. It is really, really cool of how this process goes. You add all of the people that you want, your clients, your employees, into their CRM, and their company takes care of all the rest, all the details. They provide recurring, thoughtful gift curation, unique, non-repeating experiences. I like that. Messaging and cards are included with all gifts. And guess what? Even the gifts they send for you don't even have their branding on it. What? Yeah. They truly want the gift-giving experience to be treasured. So visit their website for details, clientgiant.com, and check out their Instagram at the Client Giant. Now, last but definitely not least, I want to share with you another amazing person, and it's Simplified Spaces by Nancy. Nancy Collins. I love what Nancy's doing. She provides professional organization for homes and small offices. She offers space organization for closets, kitchens, bathrooms, and by special request, garages. She offers whole home organization, helping with space planning, container and storage suggestions, proper container labeling, item relocation plans. She even provides assistance with moving and remodeling, helping with coordinating packing and unpacking, categorizing box contents, integration with moving services, and more. She even has, on her blog, she provides weekly tips. And go to nancyorganizes.com/blog, and then you can see highlights on her Instagram. You can go to Instagram at nancyorganizesoc. Simplified Spaces by Nancy is located in Orange County, California, where I grew up for part of my life. She believes that managing your space should be achievable and sustainable, and she helps you arrange your space, declutter if necessary, and achieve order without guilt or judgment. Matter of fact, Nancy is determined to make the process as fun as possible, if you can believe it. If those of you that don't like it, if Nancy can make it fun for you, then you know she's done her job. She wants to work with you to help maintain a simplified space, not rack your mind with endless attempts at trying to perfect it. And I like that. That's what's her driving force and understanding. So I want you guys to reach out to Nancy for a quote if you happen to be in or super duper close to the Orange County area. For those of you outside of Orange County and California, she also has Virtual Clutter Coaching. Yes. So Nancy is like, can help you in-house or virtually. So visit her site, nancyorganizes.com today. Yes, you hear me. You heard it here. I am really excited about these, the ability to share these businesses. And I want to always make clear to people, because sometimes folks aren't really sure, and they don't realize that when we're sharing these with you guys, we aren't getting, it's not like these aren't paid ads, or there's no quid pro quo. We're not getting any kind of merchandise. We are doing this because we love businesses. We love entrepreneurs. We love creators. We love dreamers that are, out there every day doing, a little bit more to reach that goal, that mission. And we can all talk about, Small Business Saturday or whatever. We believe in supporting businesses and understanding that small business is the lifeline of this country. It's the driving force, and we have to be able to let other people know. And it's like, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know who's out there doing what. There's so many options, and we don't have the big old yellow pages that we had back in the day so that you could flip through and quickly find. And although we have the various resources online, I think a lot of us are just inundated and overwhelmed with just information overload. So having this feature allows us to be able to highlight people. It doesn't matter if they have 20 followers or if they have 2 million followers. It doesn't matter. As we know, your followership is not a translation to revenue. So let's just say that this is just one way for us to be able to share, and hopefully you will connect with one of these professionals, these businesses, these creators, and have a beautiful relationship, preferably a business relationship with them. So, oh my goodness. With that, you guys know what that means. It's time for us to wrap up and go our separate ways. But before we do, let me drop another quote in your lap. And it's from Anthony Robbins. And it says, "There's a powerful driving force inside every human being that once unleashed can make any vision, dream, or desire a reality." There you go, folks. I just dropped that in your lap. Thank you guys for everything. I love you all. With that, be sure to check us out on Facebook at Foreman and Associates and on Instagram and Twitter at ForemanLLC. Our podcast Twitter handle is It Ain't Small, and our Instagram is Don't Call It Small. Be sure to also follow us and share us with your friends, colleagues, and family. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Natasha L. Foreman. Reach out to me, say hello, share your story. I look forward to meeting you. I want to make sure that I give proper credit for our show theme song. It's called Higher Up, and it's by Shane Ivers. Thank you for tuning in to the Don't Call It Small Business Podcast, for sharing these episodes with others, and for your continued support. And don't forget what I tell you on each and every episode. Don't call what you're planning, thinking, dreaming, or doing little or small. Go big, go bold, or go nowhere. I'll see you here next week. Make today a super awesome day. Take care.